Steven, welcome back.
Hmm.
Here's what I envision of how your bachelor party went down on Saturday.
Okay.
All right. Paint the picture here. You let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
So you're having the time of your life. You're drinking beers. You're probably doing lines of coke off strippers' asses, and then boom, Trump gets shot and ruins the whole party. Is that right?
That's exactly right. You hammered it. You nailed that to a T.
Yes.
Like,
Knew
with
knew that-
everything that was happening. Everything.
I figured.
Yeah. All of that.
Yep.
All of that. No, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, close. But we were out on a boat. And we were on a boat, and we were at North Lake Tahoe, stayed in South Lake Tahoe, but my brother accidentally booked a boat in North Lake. So we had to drive an hour on Saturday morning to get the boat. And as we are on the way home from the boat ride, which was fantastic, which was the best part of the trip to me, that's when we heard about Trump almost getting shot. Well, I guess he did. The shrapnel,
Yeah,
right?
he did. Did that put a damper on the party at all, though?
I wouldn't say so.
Did the strippers were at the bachelor party were like, oh, man?
Yeah, Stormy Daniels was really going through it when we, we had her there. She was on the boat ride and everything. It was tough.
Oh,
yeah, brutal.
That's too bad. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. What's up, everybody in the chat? And Elena's here. What's up, Elena? Steven's back from his bachelor party in Tahoe, and I am in Del Boca Vista seeing my mom. So yeah, that's what's going on right now.
And that's the reason you skipped the bachelor party.
Yes, that's the reason I skipped the bachelor party. I really wanted to go. I was just trying to find. There really is no way to fly from Tahoe to Fort Lauderdale, which is kind of a pain in the ass. You think those two cities kind of close? You could find a way to do that.
Well, there's this Sacramento airport, right? I think
How would I get to Sac from Tahoe, Stephen?
I had a friend who flew into Sacramento Airport and had someone else drive him over. We would have made it work.
That seems like a costly lift.
It wasn't a lift. It was
even an Uber.
It was a friend's ride. It was a person who was attending. He gave said other person a ride from the airport.
So, but that's the problem, Stephen. I don't know anybody else in this bachelor party group, so it would be kind of presumptuous of me to be like, "Hey, people, give me a lift."
Well, we would have made it work.
All right. Well, I apologize. I think you had a good time without me.
You missed out.
I did miss out, and I'm sorry I wasn't there. But I'm having a good time with my mom. Even though from time to time she could drive me fucking nuts. I'm having a good time.
What are you cooking over there? Is she a good cook? Oh God.
Yeah, she's a great cook. Let me ask you something. This happened the other night. She was making sausage and rice and onions, and she went to the bathroom, and I don't know how long she was going to be in there. And then I saw that the water was overflowing on the stovetop. I was like, Jesus, Mom. So I turned it down a little bit, and then I saw that she cut up the onions, and I started to put the onions in with the sausage. And she got all mad at me because the onions were put in too quickly. And I was like, Mom, it's fine. Let the onions and sausage mix. But apparently I messed it up.
No surprise there. No surprise. You do broil your steak. Broil.
Yeah, since that episode, Stephen, many people have reached out to me. And when I say many, I mean one. Thank you, Aram, who told me that broiling a steak is just fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
He did tell me, though, 20 minutes is, as the kids say, a little sus.
It is a little sus. Agreed.
Yeah.
Who puts anything under broil for 20 minutes?
Regardless. I'm having a good time, Stephen. Got myself a bloody beer, and we're good to go.
Oh, God. What is that? Like your 8th one?
No, 9th.
9th. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. But I will say this to anyone who's actually listening. Now we're only live on YouTube, which stinks because, well, we got to get a blue check mark now if we want to go live on Twitter.
Yeah, apparently. I figured that out moments before Alon and I did our podcast and last time. And, this dog. And apparently we got to pony up some coin in order for us to go live on the X, as they call it now.
Okay. Well, we'll discuss maybe paying for it, but I don't know. Maybe if we get like a blue check mark, it would make our podcast page a little more official. All right. Well, for now, we are just live on YouTube and on Instagram. I got the Instagram.
The old Insta.
Yeah, I brought that back on the very popular Just Your Opinion Man Instagram page, which has like 20 followers.
What if we called it just your gram man?
Just your gram. That's not bad.
Yeah,
but
see?
That would also be counterintuitive because you're trying to bring people into your podcast, and then
That's
they'd be
fair.
like, "What? It's called Just Your Gram."
Yeah, that's fair. And probably maybe people are that don't have Instagram are kind of confused because we could be talking about graham crackers or whatnot. But we're just going to be on YouTube for right now, and then you can download the podcast. But everybody that's in the chat is always on YouTube anyway, so I think we're all good.
Yeah, well, we need more people. We need more interaction. We need more company for these guys. Not that I don't appreciate them. Not that I don't appreciate the Ernies and the AJs and Skills and everyone already, but we need some more cooks in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can't have too many cooks. Too many cooks. So, Steven, how was your bachelor party for real?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I got nothing but good things to say about it. The American Century Championship, that's the first thing we did on Friday.
Yep.
And somehow between me and I think 6 others who were there, we ended up having a friend that was out there volunteering at the tournament. So we invited him to the house. And dude, I think we drank 2 bottles of tequila on Thursday night.
Nice.
And so we go to the golf tournament, and as we're walking, a majority of us are struggling, right? I'm actually feeling okay, but we're mostly struggling. And as we're walking along the golf course, there's just one guy I heard in the background who was really pissed at his friend because I guess he didn't go to the golf tournament because of the night he had before. He's like, always with these weekends, these guys ruin it on day 0. Every time they get too turned up on day 0. That's kind of exactly what we did as we're just slumbering our way through the golf course. But once we settled in a little bit, it was great, man. I mean, it's such a great vibe over there. Like, I think my friend pointed out, who's never been to a golf tournament, he's like, this is what it should be. You have like a whole bunch of people there, a bunch of, tents, food, drinks. You got music going on. Obviously, the golf is happening, but that's kind of secondary because you got the picturesque scene of Lake Tahoe.
Yep.
And then it helps that you do have the celebrities golfing in the tournament, but it's got to be like a regular thing, man. But as I'm like walking through, I'm wondering if we're going to see any celebrities. And this weird thing happened. So the first hole we're at, right, the 7th hole, it's like the closest one to the entrance. The Kelseys are on that hole, Jason and Travis. And as we get there, this was very random. But a couple of younger kids, they looked like they were maybe, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old. I don't know. They asked one of my friends to take a selfie. They're like, hey, can you use your phone and take a selfie of us? And he's like, why? We're in a competition and I need 5 people to join in and I need to force them to take a selfie. And if you take this one, then I win. Okay. So he took the selfie with the kid in it.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, runs to his friends. And he's like, I got 5. And I don't know what he won. But as he turns around and he walks back to his friends, the person they're with, Jason Kelsey's wife. It's Kylie Kelsey.
Oh, wow.
Turn around and they were with Kylie Kelsey. And later on, way later in the day, when we ran into the Kelsey brothers playing again on the fairway, they're still with her. They're following the Kelseys along along the rough. So I don't know who these kids were, but they were associated with Kylie Kelsey. And I was like, oh, snap. I mean, we're going to be like walking around and seeing celebrities all over. I thought they were in like maybe designated VIP areas or something like that. Didn't run into too many more, though. Only people from like radio I recognized. Saw Mike Golick Jr. Just gave him a quick cheers with the tall can.
Nice.
Saw Mike Ryan from the Dan Lebitard show, which was wild because I've been listening to him for a while. And to be honest, we had a super awkward interaction and I'm not proud of it, but
What happened?
I cringe at the thought of it. Nothing. I just tell him, I just talked really fast and I was like,
hi, Ryan.
"Oh
I
my
love
God."
you.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know he was going to be there. I didn't really prepare myself. He just turned around. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Mike Ryan." So I introduced myself and then I said what I did and I rushed through all these words and then I didn't want to keep him too long. So I just kept on rushing through the sentence. I gave him like a quick 30 seconds of who I was and what I did and why I'm such a big fan. And then I turned around, I said, and I just turned to the green and I was like, "All right, man, enjoy, like have a great time." And I turned to the green and I guess he like held out for a handshake and I didn't know that he held out for a handshake and I totally avoided him. He goes, whoop, whoop, whoop. Eventually I got him, but I still cringe.
You pulled a Whitley with Shaq, man.
I guess I did. Yeah. I cringe at the thought of it.
You've heard that story before, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
but you can tell it again.
No, I won't. I just he was willing to take a picture with her and she left and I was like, oh damn, what you just left before Shaq?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway,
it was super weird, super awkward. I cringed on the entire car ride home. I don't like to think of it, but
stupid.
It is what it is. It happened. But man, there was some cool. It was so cool, man. Like the celebrity trios we saw. Like we were at the 17th hole. It's a par 3. Parallel to the lake. It's so cool. You got people in their boats partying. You got the music going. And it's so wide open too. It's not like it's crammed or anything. And God, some of the trios that you saw, like there was like Seth Curry and Del Curry and Ray Allen in one group. You had Baker Mayfield, Blake Griffin, and Vince Carter in another group.
No, that's a trio.
When we're walking down, you saw Seawood, Charles Woodson, Patrick Peterson, and I forgot, I think it was Dwight Freeney.
Nice.
And then like Rob McElhenney was in a group. I can't remember which group he was with, but my buddy Joel was like, "Shut up, bird." And I thought that was my favorite little call out of the day.
So,
then,
sorry, go ahead. But yeah, you saw a lot of celebrities though.
Oh, so many. Like one of the first groups that we randomly walked into was Robbie Gold, Carson Daly, and Colin Jost.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's a trio.
Super random.
Very random. What's Carson Daly doing these days?
I don't know, but he was a big dude, and I didn't realize he had a bunch of tats. He was tatted up, Daly.
Was his fingernails painted?
Tatted request live. No, I don't think they were finger painted. No, I don't. Okay. I didn't see that.
Okay.
But yeah, all those
Raider fan.
Is he?
I want to say I remember him rocking a Raiders hat back
in the day. Yeah, he is, isn't he?
So, but I'm surprised you say that that you were surprised that the interactions between fans and celebrities were so close. I don't know if you saw, Steven. Did you see Jerry Rice go kind of crazy?
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw it in real time?
I didn't see that in real time, but I saw the video.
Okay. Because I thought it was kind of hilarious. Like, I know Jerry can be a little fiery at times, but I just love the reporter walking up to him and Jerry just like, "I'll fuck you up."
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guy was kind of chirping at him, right? Or he was a reporter.
Was he chirping at him?
He was a reporter that had an agenda.
That could be fair. I guess he was just asking if the Chiefs receiving core is better than the Niners or whatever it is, and Jerry didn't want to have any of it, which, you don't have to answer questions. Okay.
It was a little extreme to that specific question. It's not like, "Hey, Jerry, do you think the Chiefs are going to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl again? Do you think it's just, is that wide receiver trio better than the 49ers?" I think there was also something in the past too. I think the video isn't the first interaction that they had. I think there was something previously to that, and the reporter really got under his skin. So I think that's what we saw. We saw the result of something that had been lingering, something that had been marinating for a little while. The beef between Jerry and the reporter had been marinating, and we saw it cooked and sizzle on TMZ.
The beef and rice.
Yes.
Did you see Aaron Rodgers at all?
Saw Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Yeah, saw him a little bit with Miles Teller, Mytel.
Oh, that's his guy.
And the Miz. I think the Miz was with the Kelseys. I don't know. I forgot who else was with Rogers and Miles Teller. Oh, AJ Hawk. That's who it was.
AJ Hawk, his guy.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
yeah.
But you didn't see Rogers openly campaigning for Davante.
No, that was the day before. That was the day before I got there.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I tried to play the audio last podcast, but I guess it didn't come through. We'll get to all that. We'll get to a lot of sports today. We'll get to something that's really upset me. Me and Steven's favorite bands possibly breaking up over comedy, politics. We will get to that a little later, but we'll talk a lot of football. We'll talk some basketball, but this is rare, Steven, and you are the bachelor party boy, so we'll start off with some soccer. And I say this like, hey, I'm doing you a favor, but not really, because your team lost. I'm sorry about England. That probably ruined the weekend as well.
The one time that you're giving me to talk on the podcast about England, it's the time they lost in the final. You know, there's been an entire tournament, right?
Lay it on me.
I'll just say this. It's not a sustainable form of winning if you only start playing when you get to the fourth quarter. I'll say that.
But they did have a thrilling goal in the last, closing of the game, and
sure,
it was 1-1. They ultimately lost, but it was an exciting match.
It was a very exciting. It was a very exciting match, but the problem with England is that they didn't score until those minutes, until like the final third of the game, and that's what really got annoying after a while. And they didn't really deserve to win. Spain did deserve to win, but God, that goal by Cole Palmer was so sick, and they were within inches of actually winning that game. Obviously, what happened at the end there with those volley headers, when the one Spanish player was waiting at the goal line and he just headbutted it away. Oh my God, that was so close. Yeah, it was a thrilling game, but ultimately, man, it amounts to nothing. Losing sucks. Yeah. And I'm so used to it. And the thrill of winning does not trump the that's not a great word to use. The thrill of winning, that emotion that you feel, it can't even compare to the way you feel about losing. You just feel dead inside.
No, it sucked, and especially for that to happen, I guess the night before you guys were coming home, right, for the bachelor weekend.
Correct. Yes, it was the afternoon of. We're on our way home, and we were going to get home at 1:15. The match started at 1. My brother had it recorded, so I didn't see anything until I didn't see anything until 1:15. And Jesse's like, fourth quarter, do you even watch soccer? I'm trying to make it relatable in terms for Derek here. You can't win if you don't start scoring until the fourth quarter. That's not a sustainable model.
I was going to say like fourth quarter, but I didn't want to sound stupid because I was just like, are there quarters in soccer?
There are two halves, but they wouldn't score until like the 75th minute every single match.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, glad to know that. Well, the reason I bring it up, I don't mean to, just kind of ruin your weekend of bringing that up, but I was here in Florida, and the Copa Americana was in Miami.
Americana?
What'd you call it?
It's just America, dude.
You can't call it Copa Americana?
That's Copa America.
No, I'm calling it Copa Americana.
All right.
So the Copa Americana happened on Sunday, and it was close by, about an hour away from where I am. And I didn't even realize that the match was delayed. God, how long? Like more than an hour?
Yeah.
Because people didn't have tickets, people that did have tickets, whatever the case was, people were just bum rushing to get inside Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play. And there was massive amount of damage. I saw where people were going in John McClane style in the air vents. It's nuts. That was crazy. But I ask you as a soccer fan, is that surprising at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I say it would. To have mayhem break out like that, no one expects that from a sort of the final of a match like that. But should I say I'm that surprised by an event that's happening in Miami? No. It just goes to show you that it does take more than just hey, we're going to have a game here. Let's host it. And we'll have the stadium take care of everything. No, when you're talking Super Bowl, when you're talking World Series, when you're talking any of these sporting events, it does have to do with the governing body itself, that being the NFL, that being Major League Baseball in the World Series, the NFL with the Super Bowl, obviously. And this one with CONMEBOL, which is the governing body that runs Copa America, yeah, it was just a failure on all fronts. It kind of an embarrassment, to be honest, but I think it should give us more appreciation for how some of these games are run, because we could see something like that. We could easily see something like that in a football game. It just doesn't happen because it's much more organized than that was.
No, definitely. But I mean, the fact that from what I saw with the clips on social media, it seemed like people just took seats and there was nothing done about it.
Yeah.
People that had seats just had to deal with it. They had to, sit in the aisle or whatever the fuck. No security presence. That's wild for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Although there's a lot of crazy stories with that amount of fans bum rushing the field. There's a lot that happened with England, but they ended up taking more precautionary measures in the future. And I think we're going to expect that later on, but boy, it's just different when the U.S. is hosting. They're not ready for that. And I think the World Cup is taking note, because you got the World Cup, FIFA, coming along here in 2026, and then you're going to have the Women's World Cup in 2028. There's really no slowing down for soccer in the United States. So they better do something, man, because you can't have that happen, say, at a game at Levi's, for example. You can't have that happen.
No, but I mean, do you think it would be the same type of environment as it was in Miami? I mean, it's a large soccer audience, so I'm not surprised. I don't think that Levi's you would see the same type of thing.
I think so. You know what? I think we should just create this and turn it into a soccer podcast and get popular enough so that we are invited to Levi's Stadium during the World Cup when it's happening.
Steven, we don't need to be a soccer podcast to do that. I think we could just be just fine doing this.
You think so?
Probably not. But
what's your opinion, man? Yep.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, you'll have to substitute my little brother in for me, because I know jack shit about soccer. Case in point, Copa Americana. And the match was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Argentina wins 1-0 over Colombia, and Messi had a big old weird-looking ankle. So he's going to have to go to Publix to get some ice for that. But, in the end, the game was happening. And would you say it was more exciting than the other match?
I didn't even finish it.
Okay.
I didn't even finish it, but
right.
I wouldn't know. I was drained, dude. I was drained on that Sunday. From the weekend to England to Copa America. I watched the highlights, but I'm not going to act like I actually watched it live. I watched most of it, and then I told Jesse, you want to just watch something else? I know Jesse didn't really care to watch it, so I was just like, you want to watch something else? So we did.
Nice. What'd you watch?
Taskmaster, I think.
Your go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked you earlier, what kind of tequila did you consume all weekend?
I don't know what it was called, but it was.
I just know what it did to me.
There was no added anything, nothing added to it. There's a lot of stuff that's added to tequila, to the cheap stuff like Casadores or the mainstream stuff. But with this tequila, there was no additives whatsoever, so it was very clean. And I brought some home, and I don't know what the other bottles were called, though.
Nice.
We had
bring it to the wedding.
In total, we had 4 bottles. What?
Bring the tequila to the wedding.
I will absolutely not do that.
Okay, bring it to Elena's wedding. I'm sure it's BYOT.
I will absolutely do that.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk some sports that people give a shit about. Let's talk some football. American football. So during this time, I usually go on vacation because this is kind of the downtime of sports. You got the MLB All-Star break, the All-Star game was yesterday. The Home Run Derby was Monday, and usually a lot of shit doesn't go down. But earlier in the week, Brandon Aiyuk finally did what we all expected him to do, and I think he's been doing all offseason. I'll get the exact tweet here from Mike Garafolo. Sources: 49ers All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. Go ahead and give me your thoughts, Steven, because I don't really think this is that big of a deal, but go ahead.
Well, it kind of is.
Yes and no.
Yes, it is. It's a deal because all indications were that they had this heart to heart, this one good meeting, and talks would resume on July 4th, and everything all ends well in Santa Clara. But the fact that they did not get a negotiation done and they heard what Aiyuk said, I think this story has some legs. But at the end of the day, what I think about this is just become official. But at the end of the day, as I'm reading more into it, I understand where Brandon Aiyuk is coming from. I understand you want to get your money, you want to feel like you're paid what you're worth. But as I'm really sitting back and looking at it, how many situations are there like this 49ers team? You are playing with one of the greatest running backs of all time. You are playing with a guy in Brock Purdy who is on track to becoming a great quarterback. You are playing with one of the greatest left tackles. You are playing with one of the most unique offenses that the NFL has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And you are willing to throw that all away just for an extra few $1 million down the line. Like, I don't understand his logic from that standpoint. And maybe that's just because I'm not an athlete, because I'm not an alpha athlete. Like, guys, we've seen this before. It's no, it's nothing new. Like, guys feel like they want to get paid, so they go somewhere else. Sometimes it's a mistake. Sometimes it isn't. But with this one, where the 49ers are at the best team in the UFC, the NFC, the NFC runs through them, and you have one more year left on your deal, and you could figure it out. Instead, he's got to make a whole deal of it. And I think this is an indication that the 49ers don't want to pay him that money. And then number two, I don't know where this whole thing of they're going to choose between him and Deebo Samuel comes along. They don't have to do that. They don't have to choose between him and Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel could very well still be on this team after this year. Like, so it tells me that they are standing firm with Deebo, because I think in those negotiations, he wants to be the number one guy. And as long as Deebo's there, he's not going to feel like that number one guy. I just think that there's something extra going on here, more than just, we're not willing to pay you this money. There's got to be other things that they're not guaranteeing him. Or I could be wrong, and all he cares about is getting that paycheck, and that's fine.
I think so, and I would say that the reason why so many people think that it's Aiyuk or Deebo is because of the fact that they have to pay Purdy, and there's already been articles written by Greg Silver's dad, Mike Silver, that they have to make some hard decisions after this season, and that's just the truth. Like, Jed York already came out and said that they're going to reset the market for Purdy, so that means the two guys you see in the Netflix show, Deebo and George Kittle, probably are the first ones to go. That's just my opinion, man. But as far as just what happened the last couple of days with Aiyuk actually making this, demand official, we heard rumors about this back in April about, I forget what publication had it first. I think it was either like Niners 24/7 or some other guy. Remember we were talking about that? Like just Twitter people saying that Aiyuk's going to demand a trade come Monday. And it never happened. Ryan Williams, Brandon Aiyuk's agent, who, by the way, wasn't that the name of an intern on Jolo and Dibs? Ryan Williams,
that was all toothless. That was all toothless Mel.
Yeah, there you go.
His name was Ryan, and somehow we called him Toothless Melvin.
Well, Toothless Melvin coming up in the world. He's representing Brandon Aiyuk. He is tight with John Lynch and basically came out and said, we are not demanding a trade right now. But Aiyuk did most of the talking this offseason, demanding a trade or not. He let it be known on every TikTok or podcast interview he did that he was unhappy. And he didn't come out and say, I want to trade, but he was tap dancing around it. And I think Ryan Williams, with his friendship with John Lynch, just bought himself some time and wasn't going to make a spectacle out of this. And then, a week away from training camp, they just ran out of time. And I was like, okay, I can't keep him happy anymore. So he wants to get out of here. Or you pay him. And we go back and forth on this. I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk deserves $30 million. And it sounds like they were close to a contract that was along the lines of 28. They offered him 26. That's what Mike Silver reported. And I guess what everything you read, or even what Brandon Aiyuk said possibly in the Pivot podcast interview, is that he was close to signing a contract, but then other guys started to sign, so that he felt obligated to get more money. I go back to the contract that Jalen Waddle signed. That was for $84 million total and 28 per year. That's what I think is appropriate for Brandon Aiyuk. If you look at Brandon Ayuk's first 3 seasons, or it's more than that, four seasons in the NFL, he has about an average of 65 catches, barely over 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And last year was the first year where he broke out to have 75, over 1,300, and 7 touchdowns. But the reality is Brandon Aiyuk has not really performed as a number 1 receiver. Last year you could say that, but I don't think he should be paid as a number 1 receiver right now. I think what's appropriate is number 2 money, the likes of which Jalen Waddle is getting. And I texted you this yesterday. I think Brandon Ayuk's kind of delusional. I think that he expects to be this number 1. He's this number 1 wide receiver, and he very well could be that guy if he was on a different team, or he stays on the team and Deebo Samuel is gone. I think it's interchangeable. I think that while Deebo Samuel may not be the prototypical wide receiver, when you watch enough of this Netflix show, or you watch just Deebo Samuel and the Niners in general, the number 1 receiver could change week to week. So to me, I don't know where Brandon Aiyuk is getting this, where he needs to be paid in the same likes of a Justin Jefferson or a Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not that guy right now. He could be, but I wouldn't make contracts based on that. I think that's what the Niners are doing right now. So this whole trade demand now, dude, if you want to go play for the Commanders and be with your best friend, Jaden Daniels, by all means, this is the same thing, and we'll talk about this more, that Davante Adams wanted to do with Derek Carr, and he got paid, but he is not happy. So don't think the grass is always greener. You think you could go and play for the Steelers or play for the Commanders, it's going to be better for you. I don't know. I understand that he wants to get paid and get generational wealth, and he wants the respect that Niners, I guess, are not showing him. But I would also say you may be sabotaging this last season with this. And, I don't know what to make of this Juwan Jennings Instagram where what was – I'll get the actual thing he said, Steven.
Nah, I got it right here.
Okay.
This is stupid. This actually pissed me off because I went to his Instagram to go, follow up on this. And Juwan Jennings said, "You guys are making something out of nothing. That was not about my boy, number 11, Brandon Aiyuk." But
then what is it about then? You can't send something like that out hours after big news of that is sent out and be like, that's not what I'm talking about. You guys are misrepresenting me.
You got to be a different type of person to act like you're doing everything by yourself, knowing dang well you're not. How are you going to send that out with everything that just happened? How are you going to send that out and then act like it's our fault for overreacting to that? Come on, dude. What do you, come on, man. Really, give us a break. What do you think we think it's about? You get a teammate in your wide receiver room who is holding out just because he wants a new contract, and you want us to think that there's no locker room tension because of this? Get off the phone. Get off social media. Don't write a very pointed post. Also said that if I wanted to tag him, then I would have tagged him. It just, I don't know. That sounds like a teenager who this used to be a thing when Twitter first started up. It was subtweeting, right? When you wanted to tweet something indirectly at somebody without tagging them. This is like that old school social media thing where it's like, oh, you got caught, and now you're acting like it's not about that person. I don't think you would. He's like, you acting like I wouldn't tag him if I had this post. I don't think you would.
No, because we've seen it this offseason already. Who called out Micah Parsons? Malik Hooker? He called him out he says he talks too much on his podcast. Micah Parsons was like, bro, why don't you just call me? Like
Yeah.
teammates call each other out on Twitter. They're passive aggressive like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course we're gonna think that that's related, but that's neither here nor there. The focal point of this whole thing is Brandon Aiyuk has officially put his stamp on it that he wants to be traded or get the money that he deserves. And Deebo Samuel did this with the Niners. I guess Robbie Gould did this with the Niners, but I barely even remember that. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that when guys make trade demands, it's like, okay, that's just Ryan Williams telling the Niners, look, guys, he wants this done or else we want out. And that was made abundantly clear before this. Like I understand like he never came out and said, I want to leave the Niners, but showing a FaceTime with Jada Daniels, going on the pivot and say, I would like to play with the 49ers, but I can see myself playing with the Commanders or Steelers, and then even like tweeting out or whatever he did, like a photo of Commanders film tape. Like this is all just passive aggressive bullshit. So by all means, now it's official, and now the Niners should be shaking in their boots. He's probably not showing up to camp, and this will be a talking point all training camp. At the end of the day, Brandon Aiyuk doesn't have a lot of leverage. Either he shows up or he doesn't. And I don't think he's going to just forego the entire season. So I think at the end of the day, he doesn't get his contract, and he'll play on the $14 million this year and then go into free agency. But the problem is, in today's age, when you don't get your money and you come back with your tail between your legs, you bitch and moan about it, and you could sabotage the season for everybody else. So that's the problem.
Well, it depends. It depends if the 49ers want to get him bought into what they're doing, because Kyle Shanahan, it's going to be on Kyle Shanahan to kind of get him motivated again, because I think you could easily see the Niners just get tired of it. Like everyone's asking, why would the 49ers make this trade? Like they're about to embark on another potential Super Bowl run. Brandon Aiyuk is a critical part of that. Why would they trade him when they have him under contract? And you said he doesn't have much leverage. Like he doesn't have any leverage. He doesn't have any in this situation. It's like they got you under contract, and they also got the franchise tag that they could use. As much as Adam Schefter's trying to convince everyone that the franchise tag isn't used as a leverage piece, it absolutely is.
Of course it is. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but of course it is. T. Higgins is staying in Cincinnati this year because he can't get out of it because he is tagged. Of course it is.
So there's no leverage that he has, really. And the only reason they would trade him is because he's made such a stink of it. And if he continues to act the way that he's acting, let's just say the way that he's acting on TikTok is the way that he's acting in the meeting room. Let's just say he's acting the way that he acted when Kyle Shanahan put him in the proverbial doghouse a few years ago. Like if he's acting that way, I could see the 49ers being like, look, all right, we'll take some calls. If you're willing to pay this guy, you better give us something. You better give us at least a first round draft pick, but we're tired of this dude and we got to move on. Like we got to cut ties. That could very well happen. Louis Riddick mentioned it on ESPN, and I agree with that.
He said what exactly?
He just said that, obviously they have no intention of trading him. That's what they said, but
right.
Things can change quickly, and they could easily just say, look, man, you are not worth the hassle right now. You are not worth all of this unnecessary drama when we're trying to compete for a Super Bowl. And then his leverage might be, well, you can't win a Super Bowl without me. But Kyle Shanahan's not going to think that. Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan. He thinks he can win a Super Bowl with any team.
Well, if I were the 49ers, the only way I would entertain this is, do you really want to go to Washington? You really want to go to Washington? They're going to pay you? Okay. John Lynch, I'm calling up my good friend Adam Peters. What's up, Adam? I want you want Brandon Aiyuk that bad? Okay. You think you're going to win this season? Then give me one of your best receivers. I want Terry McLaurin on my team instead of Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah.
That's fair to me. Because then you could be like, all right, well, that's an upgrade probably. Terry McLaurin is a better wide receiver right now to me than Brandon Aiyuk. And people may think that's crazy. I think that he has more stats and film to back up that he's a number one more than Brandon Aiyuk. So the only way that I would trade Brandon Aiyuk today and not getting draft capital for him that helps me for the here and now, you got to give me a player that I can use for this upcoming season.
Yeah, and I think I actually looked this up last night. I think McLaurin's like 2 years away from when he'll be eligible for a new contract. So yeah, you got plenty of wiggle room there. I just, that's what it would need to be. another team, sure, they'd be willing to pay him, but would they be willing to give up? I'm not going to say an elite wide receiver talent, but one that's pretty damn good. And right now, I guess the leverage play that Aiyuk has is, hey, your first round wide receiver's on the non-football injury list. Like, he got hurt in training. You're really going to risk that? You're going to risk that? He's going to replace me? What if he just turns into another Jalen Hurd? What if he turns into another Ronnie Bell and just can't really get on the field? What are you going to do? You're just going to,
Yeah.
you're going to let me, that's his only like little bit of leverage piece. I think that kind of benefited him slightly, but I still think the 49ers hold most of the cards here.
The timing of that was very interesting, that Ricky Pearsall will show up on the non-football injury list right when training camp starts. Now, we don't know how long that's going to last, and I don't think we've been given any details of what happened. As far as I know, I don't know if anything's popped up today, Stephen, but I'm sure Shanahan will go into that, and I'm sure the opening press conference of when training camp happens next Monday, when they all report, it's all going to be about Aiyuk, and I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk's going to be there. I highly doubt it. So this is what it's going to be for a while. Now, could they come to terms on a contract? Yes. Could the Niners cave and give him $30 million a year? Sure. I wouldn't do that, but I also understand that you really don't want to fuck things up for what could be this potential last dance with everybody. So by all means, the Niners will do what they think is best for their team this upcoming season. And I think anything's on the table right now. I think the least thing that I foresee is that, or I should say the unlikeliest thing I foresee is him getting traded. I just think that they don't want to succumb to his demands. I don't think that they've ever wanted to give in to these guys. There's always a time and place. This always happens around this time. 2 years ago it was Debo. Last year it was Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa missed all of training camp. We were wondering if he was going to show up week 1 against Pittsburgh. I think at the end of the day they will come to terms on a deal. But I could also see Brandon Aiyuk just not being happy with things at the end of the day if they don't come up with a deal and he just comes back, no deal, plays on the $14 million. And the truth is that maybe they just don't want to pay him $30 million because they value Brock Purdy more for the future than Brandon Aiyuk.
Yes. Yeah, but I also think they've promised their money elsewhere, because the 49ers don't just think for this coming year. They think about the years ahead, and I am sure they have planned to use money somewhere else. And I don't know if they're telling him the exact names, but the reason they're not going to give him that money is not because they don't think he's worth that. What you make very good points as to why he may not be worth that type of money. He might be worth more of a Jalen Waddle, but I think the 49ers would pay him had they not had a bunch of other people to hand out contracts to. So I think they're saying, like, look, we can't do whatever you want to do. It's just not feasible. Like, we got other guys that we eventually want to pay long term. And as much as we want to pay you, your contract demand's a little steep. But he
doesn't care, because he made that clear on the pivot that that's not my problem.
Right. But do you agree that they would? I mean, Orlovsky felt like Dan Orlovsky was a little. He's just throwing heaters during first take, but or get up or whatever it was. But do you really think, like, if the Niners don't, let's just say they trade him away, do you think he's that important to the offense where they don't win the NFC West next year to that point? Because Orlovsky was like, he said, look, I got the Rams winning the NFC West if the 49ers let go of Brandon Aiyuk. I think he's that important to the offense. I don't know.
The Rams are going to be good this year, but I don't know if they're going to be better than the Niners. Now, if Brandon Aiyuk is not there, that does throw things off with the offense. I don't think that's nuts. I want to go on a limb like that, but then again, you have to when you're on a daily sports show like that. I don't think that's crazy. I thought his Davante Adams talk yesterday was nutso, but I don't think that's crazy to think that.
Yeah. I also wonder, like, I wonder if the 49ers have their Brandon Aiyuk days. George Kittle probably didn't try to reveal this on the receiver show, but he said something that caught my ear, and it was
what you did there, caught your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Receiver show.
That was, he said after Debo got hurt, I believe that was the context of it. he said, yeah, that was a Debo day, a heavy Debo day.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how many of those days are reserved for Brandon Aiyuk. Do they have those days, or do they simply kind of just, take what's given to them and go to them if needed? I feel like they'd mostly have Christian McCaffrey days, Debo Samuel days. The amount of Brandon Aiyuk days that they have, they might have one or two, but I don't think it's as much as the other guys.
I think Brandon Aiyuk, and I mean this in a positive way, is such a traditional wide receiver that he is the break glass in case of emergency wide receiver, where
Yep.
usually the scheme is predicated on Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle, because that's what Kyle Shanahan is used to in his offense, where he can have misdirections, and if you think that McCaffrey's getting the ball, he's a wide receiver. No, he's a running back. Same thing with Debo. Kittle blocking. No, he's going out for the pass. Aiyuk is going out for a pass. That's what he's doing. So when we are in 3rd and longs, we're going to that guy. What the ironic thing is, the Aiyuk day should have been the Super Bowl, because as we saw on the Netflix show, Kittle and Debo, while they did not have good performances, they were hurt. They were hurt really bad. So have you gotten that far yet, Steven?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, we'll talk about it more. But you would think that in that situation, Brandon Aiyuk would be featured more, and maybe it was just the Chiefs' defense playing great. He was very upset with the amount of targets and catches he got in that game. That's probably a big deal too, is that Kyle's like in the back of his mind, like, I don't really need this guy. I mean, he's great, but I don't really need him to have a successful offense. I don't need a Julio Jones every time. I don't need a traditional wide receiver. Now, I go back and forth on if they need Debo or not, if they really value Debo, because everything I've heard is that in the Super Bowl, they were really disappointed. Despite his injury with the hamstring, Debo could not get off the line of scrimmage. And in those situations, they want a Brandon Aiyuk type, a Ricky Pearsall, to get open just traditionally just wide receiver play. You want just a guy that can break away from the quarterback and get open. Right. That did not happen in the Super Bowl for them. So I hear you on what you're saying. Yeah, it probably is more the other guys than Brandon Aiyuk. And Brandon Aiyuk has made it clear that if he was the number one option on a different team, that he would get more stats, he would get more looks, he would get more targets. So I'm sure there's a hint of disrespect that Aiyuk, well, not a hint, there's a whole lot of disrespect that Aiyuk feels in a Kyle Shanahan offense. But at the end of the day, if they can pay him what he thinks is appropriate, then he's willing to look past that.
God, I don't know how Debo's not getting in his ear and being like, look, dude, I held out for the new contract. It was great, but I got paid, but I also had an awful season by my standard. Like, that's what I said. I straight up said I was awful that last year because I didn't have a training camp. Like, as much as you think, there's a certain arrogance there where it's like, I don't need any training. I don't need any of this. I got to step onto the football field and be who I used to be. No, you need that training camp. You need it. Are the 49? I think the next the next thing we have to see here, like the next move, is what the 49ers do in terms of the fines. Are they going to lift those fines should he hold out? Because they did, I think, for both Debo and for Nick Bosa. I know they did for Nick Bosa because they just took forever to get that deal done, and they just waived any potential penalty. But I wonder if they're going to do the same with Aiyuk. I wonder if they are going to waive that training camp. Well, maybe not, because we've been saying all along that they're probably going to get a deal done. It's probably going to happen after July 4th, and it's gone downhill ever since this has been a talking point. It started at the top, and it's just gone downhill ever since.
Yeah, I mean, his antics have definitely caused more disruption, so they probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Be like, dude, we haven't done anything. We feel like we're doing something fair here. Like, if you want to lose money, fine. Don't show up to training camp. But like, we're gonna get to work. Shanahan has no interest in these contract negotiations. Like, I think this is just gonna hurt Aiyuk in a variety of levels. Yeah. I don't know why he's doing this. I still don't get it.
Because he wants to get paid. I understand why he's frustrated, but everything else seems like a little too much to me.
Yeah.
But Going from a legit trade demand to one that's kind of manufactured on ESPN right now. Davante Adams. Before we get to all the details of that, we have to bring up the Netflix receiver show because that's what this basically stems from. So, Stephen, Alon and I talked about the first 4 episodes last podcast. You've watched the whole thing. I've watched the whole thing now. What do you think of the show?
Oh, it was awesome. But I think I kind of already knew everything about Kittle and Debo. Like, I mean, it was cool getting a glimpse into their family life and seeing the Kittle support system, all of that. That was pretty cool. But I think the one that was most eye-opening for me was Justin Jefferson. I think the idea that he has an alter ego, I think that's just so sick. And it's like, I put on the glasses, I put on the chains, and I become Jets. But when I'm Justin, I mostly keep to myself. I don't really do too much. I think that's sick. Although after this documentary, I've realized the reason I got so annoyed with the gritty is not because of Justin Jefferson himself. It's because everyone else was doing it. So you know what? Let Justin Jefferson be the sole person to do the gritty, and everyone from his hometown, because that's a New Orleans thing.
Yeah.
Like, just let Justin Jefferson do the gritty. Don't let anyone else do it. Like, it means something to him. Everyone was just, it was sick how he started a movement. But
I say him and Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, those two. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that that was the coolest story to me. I think I learned the most about that one. And then just watching Davante, I couldn't help but laugh watching Davante Adams. It's just the Raiders are gonna ruin another wide receiver in his prime. And the only difference in this one is he's actually trying, and they're still finding a way to screw it up. Like, the Raiders suck, man. They're the worst organization ever. They get one of the greatest wide receivers that we have in the game, and they can't make it work because they stink as an organization.
But was that hard to watch, or just more like, we kind of expected this? Like, when seeing in the first 4 episodes his frustration with, I said this too. Like, yes, he is frustrated. You see it. Like, he is fed up with Jimmy Garoppolo and Josh McDaniels. Now, he's a good teammate about it. Like, other guys would be demonstrative and called out the quarterback. But we knew that Davante was not really thrilled about Jimmy Garoppolo being his QB. But when you see it in the show and he's on the sideline, not being an asshole, just telling Jimmy, like, you just keep doing your thing, man. Telling Brian Hoyer, just keep doing your thing. He's still a good teammate. It's just, yeah, he's like when Jimmy overthrows him against the Lions, he's like, just fucking throw the ball, man. What are we doing? So, and I was talking with Alon. Did you think that part where he comes back into the game against the Packers? It was the week after he hurt his shoulder. He comes back, plays his former team in the Green Bay Packers, and they're not really featuring him a lot. And that may be a Josh McDaniels thing because he doesn't know if he's 100% healthy. But Jimmy's not looking to him. And there's a moment where Jimmy just looks at him and goes, you good, or you healthy? And Davante's like, don't worry about it, bro. Just give me the ball. It was almost like Davante telling him, like, I'm out here, man. And I'm 100%. I may not be 100%, but I feel 100%. I'm out here giving him my all. You're playing like shit. Just give me the fucking ball. Just shut up.
Right.
That's the vibe that I got.
Yeah. Dude, we said it at the start of the season because it's the way that Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo operates.
Yeah.
They rely on anticipation throws. You got to be extremely tough if you want to play in that system. And I think Adam showed that he's extremely tough, but also getting cracked every day. He got really annoyed at that.
Yeah.
And the frustration boiled over. I totally understood it. Look, dude, I'm seeing a lot of people defending the team as opposed to Davante Adams. I said this at the start, even when he was doing those articles with The Ringer. Like, whatever he feels, I'm good with it. This dude is the best wide receiver in the league. He has never done anything wrong. He is the perfect, the route running, the catches, like the way that he is able, these delayed catches, the way that he is able to just wait till the very last second to put his hands out to catch the ball, and his route running too. I already mentioned the routes, but I mean, it made Chad Ochocinco cry, for God's sakes. Like, anything this dude feels, I'm good with it. If he wants to have these diva tendencies, supposedly, I'm good with that because he's just that good. And the Raiders were, ever since Derek Carr was gone, they have just been ruining him in the prime of his career and making him look making him look foolish for leaving Green Bay, even though it might have been the right move at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem I have is that Davante came to the Raiders to play with his college teammate and good friend. And also the Raiders were his childhood franchise. And I was only down with the Derek Carr move if they found a suitable replacement for him, and they have failed to do that. So the only reason we're bringing this up is because you see Davante's frustration, and then things kind of change when Aiden O'Connell is the quarterback and Antonio Pierce is the head coach. And he even admits in the Giant game, the first game with Antonio Pierce, that it doesn't have to be all about him. And that's the part where I don't think he has diva tendencies. It's not that I need to get my 9 catches and $135 every game. It's let's win the right way. Let's put up 30 points. And that's what happened in that Giant game where he caught like 4 balls for 35 yards. And is that like a normal thing for him week in and week out? No, but that's what needed to be done that day. And he was okay with it. And he, got the ball a little bit more when Aiden was playing. They really didn't. They failed to show that game against the Chiefs, the wide receiver show, and I get why, because there was barely no offense in that game to show for. Right. But there were moments, I'm sure, where he was frustrated with Aiden O'Connell. But for the most part, he felt good about things because Antonio Pierce brought life back into that organization. And I see why they went with him. I understand it. I mean, I knew it at the time, but you see it behind the scenes of watching the Raiders show or watching the receiver show. You get it now. But my whole thing and why I think people are bringing it up and ESPN's making a whole thing about it is because they really still have not solidified that position. You and I have talked about it numerous times. So there's a strong possibility that Davante could still feel this way with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell still as his quarterbacks.
Sure, but I think those guys are a little different than Jimmy. And the reason you saw Davante turn around is not because they were winning games. It's because he wasn't getting killed every day, even when they were losing. So I think it's sure. I mean, he might have growing frustration with his quarterbacks and demand a trade, but ultimately the Raiders got to be involved in it too. The Raiders takes 2 to tango, man. And if the Raiders get a solid enough offer, I'm seeing this one going around with the 49ers. If Antonio Pierce is a true Raider fan, a Raider through and through, he would not, I know he's just the head coach, but he would not let that sort of trade go down. Like, you're really going to trade Adams for Brandon Aiyuk and you're going to send Davante to the 49ers? What the hell are we doing here then? Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I get why people are suggesting that because Brandon Aiyuk has familiarity with Antonio Pierce as a former coach assistant at ASU. But let's be real here. Who the hell is Pretty Ricky?
I don't know.
Yeah, like, is this Ricky Stanicki from the fucking Amazon Prime show? Like, I'm not trying to, like, let's be real with our sources of a trade proposal. Like, I'm not putting any validity into that whatsoever. I'm not putting any validity into any of these things on ESPN. Do you have the clip, Steven? Not of Louis Riddick, but of Orlovsky yesterday?
Did you send that to me?
I put it on our Twitter yesterday just to be like, we'll talk about this bullshit.
Okay, let me pull it up here. Pull up game week so far today.
Usually because of my weakness when it comes to pulling up.
All right. I have get up here.
And Ernie too makes a good break point here. Mark Davis would never make any trades with the Niners. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just people don't. Plus, it's Pretty Ricky. Just go grind on someone else. Here is Davante Adams or Dan Orlovsky talking to Davante Adams.
Yeah, I think Davante Adams plays for the Jets this season. So the reason why I say that is this: have you watched Netflix, the receiver Stuff,
Yes.
have you seen it? Have you
He
seen the
knows who the host
frustration
is.
from Davante Adams? It's not that much better of a situation. One, the only reason it wouldn't happen, Greeny, is if he would feel bad about leaving Antonio Pierce, their new head coach. That's the
He'll be
only
all right.
reason.
Antonio will be fine. He'll be fine.
Okay, but the loyalty of a competitor to a coach. One, the Raiders don't matter until they get a quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. So at some point, you got to try to go get a quarterback. Number two, if you're the Jets, why would you not? Cool. It's going to cost you you haven't won a Super Bowl ever, or in like 50-something years or something like that.
Yeah,
You've already
1969.
gone all in. You have to make this work. If you don't win the Super Bowl, this is going to be one of the more disappointing acquisitions and runs and wasted talented teams that we've seen in the NFL in many years. I think this is a done deal. At some point, Davante Adams plays for the Jets this season.
How do I make that my ring?
Okay, so I respect Dan Orlovsky for a lot of what he says as far as looking at the X's and O's of the game. When it comes to hot takey bullshit like that, like look, and also like Mike Green, like I used to watch Mike and Mike back in the day. Man, does Mike Greenberg annoy the crap out of me today? Like there has to be a little bit of professionalism in broadcasting these days, where you're just not a fucking fanboy on national TV. Good Lord. Sorry, but like, what basis do you have about that? Just because Aaron Rodgers said in Tahoe that he looks forward to playing with Davante Adams again. He fucks with people. That's what he does. I'm not taking any validity into that. And then Davante Adams' camp had to come out yesterday and say there have been no trade talks. He's happy staying with the Raiders. I understand why people want to conjure this up and make a thing out of it because you watch the Netflix show and it makes sense for him to go to the Jets. But I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell for the Raiders actually entertaining this. Unless, you and I discussed this yesterday, we're texting, what would it take for the Raiders to actually agree to trade him to the Jets?
Well, they got to be losing. First 9 games of the season before the trade deadline. Their last one against the Bengals, I believe. The deadline's on November 5th, and their game against the Bengals is on November 3rd.
So what's the win total they would have to have in order for them to even entertain this?
Yeah, I'm thinking if they're 4-5, then
no,
that's going to be right. Or you're still in the ballpark there. So I think that's out of the question. 3-6, maybe. I think 2 wins is when you can seriously start talking. Okay, maybe they'll be sellers here because this season's going nowhere. And you know what? If they could stack future assets, get a first-round pick for them. Let's just say Adams has been playing really well this season, and you could maybe get something else in return, like another talent. Then maybe I think that'd be a respect to Davante Adams to do that. Where are you?
Sorry, a little delay there.
You all right?
I missed everything. Yeah, I missed everything you just said. Sorry.
I gave you gold, Derek. I gave you gold. You're missing my 2-7 gold.
I know. I got the gist of it. So basically, yes, Steven, I'm with you. 4-5, definitely not. You're still in the thick of things, probably in the AFC wildcard mix. Even 3-6, I would not make that deal. If you're 2-7, I'm picking up the phone from Joe Douglas and saying, look, I'm only doing this if you guys give me a 2025 first-round pick. I'm only doing it for that. I'm not doing it for anything else. You're that Super Bowl desperate. I don't want anything in the years to come. I don't want down the line to give me a first-round pick. That's too much of that shit going on right now. I got to win here and now. So I want a 2025 first-round pick. If you give me that, we'll talk. But anything else, I'm not even entertaining this.
Yeah.
And I just think that this is July banter because we don't have a lot of shit going on. People don't want to talk about baseball on ESPN, so they bring up this stuff. And if you have the clip of Louis Riddick, Steven, I would love to hear that because he's the only reasonable person on Get Up these days where you're just talking nonsense for the sake of nonsense. Like, I understand, like, yes, me and Alon even brought it up that there could be a case to be made that Davante will be frustrated this season. But for Dan Orlovsky to be like, I think he's playing for the Jets this year. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers could just take him because the league, is ruled by Aaron Rodgers. This is why I love Louis Riddick saying this shit today.
Go ahead, finish it up.
Why don't they try? Why don't they try and go out and get Trent Williams too, and maybe they should go out and try and get Lane Johnson too, since why not? Why don't they just try and get everybody? Just ask every team, hey, can I have your best player? Can I get your best player? You know what? Because I don't. You know what? We spend so much time talking about. Listen, how about the quarterback just stays healthy? How about they just protect him? How about he just stays on the field for 17 games? How about they just do that? All right. How about Greeny? Greeny, I'm tired of your team. To be honest with you, dude. I'm tired of talking about your team.
I
tired of
understand
talking about your team, man. They're fine right now. They're fine. Just let them play.
We don't
just
need
let them play. I actually
fine.
think they're good enough right now to compete.
That's former Raider Louis Riddick standing up for the organization right there. But also, he's just being real because he worked in the front office. He knows what's realistic and what's not realistic, and he just doesn't like. Even though he's a good sport sometimes, I could see it. He hates having to entertain this bullshit sometimes.
Same with JJ Redick too when he was on the show. I think I don't know why we just saw Kendrick Perkins say on all the smoke that ESPN told him to create a take that he didn't believe in because it was going to cause some conversation or to create some conversation. It's like we forgot about that. Orlovsky doesn't believe that. He's just saying that just to generate some content during this slow time. That's all that is. You're trying to generate content from the receiver show. Feels like it's kind of low hanging fruit to have Davante. But for Aaron Rodgers, my thing with him is he said it with a lot of conviction. If I'm Garrett Wilson, I'm pissed. If I'm Garrett Wilson, I'm like, dude, I'm a first round. He was first round pick, right?
Yeah.
10th
overall.
I was a first round wide receiver out of Ohio State. I am primed here to become this sort of receiver. And you want to go and get your old friend? You haven't even stayed healthy, man. Like, you can't even stay healthy for 2 games. You know what? All right, you want your friend? Hey, I'm going to go to wherever they sent him, and I'm going to get back at you. Like, how would Garrett Wilson feel about all that? Because Garrett Wilson's a damn good receiver. I don't even know what his numbers were last year because obviously the quarterback situation was all messed up. But, like, dude, he still put up over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Still put up over 1,000 yards. And you're going to say, yeah, I'm going to get him back? Hell no, this is my team. Like you just got here. I live here.
You just live.
I just run shit, or I run shit here. You just live here.
Shoe program. Pelican Bay.
Yeah.
That's a valid point, Steven, because I'm sure Garrett Wilson's like, okay, you want to go back to your booth thing? Like I'm your main squeeze now. Like what you got me. You got your guy, Alan Lazard. You brought him over from Green Bay. You got who's the guy they got
Randall
from
Cobb?
Randall Cobb's not there anymore. They picked up Mike Williams. They got who's the guy that was Debo-ish in the draft? McClorley? Or the wide receiver? Yeah, but Malachi Corley or something like that. He's another wide receiver they have. They got targets. They just need the offensive line. So I think that the Jets should be good on paper if Rodgers stays healthy. But yeah, that's legitimate. If I was Garrett Wilson, I'd be like, come on, man.
I mean,
and
maybe there's nothing to that. Maybe there's nothing to that. And him and Wilson have talked on the side, and him and Rodgers are in good standing, and he knows where he's at with it. He's just kind of doing something for the cameras. Like if they have an understanding, then that's fine. But if they don't talk, if they don't have that, I'm like, if I'm Garrett Wilson, I'd be like, the hell, dude.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, let's just say, I don't know. I've obviously not in sports talk anymore, but let's just say that I go to a show with one current co-host and, we have a good thing going. And then that other co-host says, actually, you know what? I want to get my longtime partner back. Let's bring him back. Like I'd be thinking, what the hell, man? So things aren't good here, huh? You know what I mean?
This sounds way too familiar.
No, there's nothing familiar about it. I mean, it sounds like a scenario that could play out, but I swear to God, I'm not using like an actual moment to
You sure?
Yeah. What kind of moment?
Not anybody I'm related to. Anyway, let's keep going.
I didn't think about that. Damn.
Anyway,
I knew I shouldn't have brought my career into it. I knew I was going to reply to somebody.
But no, there's a moment in the Netflix, but yeah, like I think it's all bullshit. But there's a moment in the Netflix show where you're like, Davante, let's move on, man. Like, there's the week where they play in the Jets and the Raiders, and the Raiders end up winning the game, and Davante says to Aaron after the game, "Hey, thanks, man, for talking to me last night. I really needed that. You got me through that. We'll talk more." And you're like, don't do that. Don't make me wonder. Like, I compare this thing to like one of the most toxic things men can ever think about is you have a good thing going with your girlfriend, but her ex always just seems to be there. And you're like, can you just go the fuck away? And you always wonder, is she going to end up like just leaving me one day and going back to him? It drives you crazy. That's the one and that's just the insecurity of Raider fans, that we have a good thing and we don't do good things to keep them.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's also where I'm like on the side of Adams with it. I'm like Rodgers, you're good. Your roster's good. Davante, they're kind of ruining you when you're in your 30s here. You ain't got that much longer left in the NFL to be playing at that high of a level. Maybe you do. Oh, maybe you could be wrong. But if history tells us anything, it's that, well, I guess guys like Jerry Rice last until they're like 40, but still, like, you're in your best years and they're kind of wasting them. Like, I'm with the history of this organization and what they have done. I'm fully on Davante Adams' side with whatever he wants to do. If he gets disgruntled and demands a trade, all right, do it. I'm not gonna fault you for it. Go ahead.
Oof, but that would be detrimental during the season.
Sure, but this is what the Raiders do, man. They take in these players, they create all this hope.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And then they use all these past slogans and say we're getting back to the old Raider way, and they fool you and they fool everyone else, and they keep the fan base on their side and make you turn on the players. This isn't like an Antonio Brown situation. Like Antonio Brown was fully at fault. Derek Carr, I was more on the side of the Raiders because Derek Carr, like, he wasn't as good of a quarterback after 2017. With whatever Davante Adams decides, I'm good with, just because of the Raiders and what they've done.
I get that. Finishing up the receiver show, I watched the remaining 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Just my takeaways from the last 4. It's thoroughly entertaining. I hope they, maybe they do like a pass rusher season next year. That would be interesting to see more of the defensive side of the football. But I was telling Alon, I think this show, the perception of wide receivers was always as divas and the guys that don't want to block and don't want to do the dirty work. And all these guys are shown as tough guys. I think all of them play through injuries and just what they mean to the team and how their frustrations are valid sometimes because they do all this work to get open on a play and then they don't end up getting the ball, which can lead to, frustration, which is understandable. For quarterbacks, you're going to either hand off the ball every play or you're going to throw it. So you are in more control of the offense than wide receivers are. So I think it's been very fascinating. And I would say that just little things like Amon-Ra St. Brown's parents are great people, but they damn sure love Amon-Ra way more than Equanimous. Did you see that one game against the Bears and Lions?
Yeah.
They don't give 2 shits that the Bears are winning that game.
Right.
Their son is winning the game. And yes, they even acknowledge, like, well, the Bears aren't that good, so who cares? It's like, that's your son. Good Lord. And then when the Lions come back to win, they're like, yeah, fuck you, Equanimous. Like, I'd be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little favoritism there. But look, man, I mean, they might change their minds, though, with the new additions of, is Equanimous still with the Bears?
I believe so, yes.
They could change their minds. But you know what? That just plays into the hashtag. St. Brown got fucked.
Is from the Pro Bowl?
Yeah. Just applies to Equanimous and
Yeah.
how his family views him during the Bears and Lions game.
Yeah, no, that's true. But no, his parents are fun, and I'll say this too. I think the show is kind of like this is going to be kind of a crazy comparison, but this show kind of reminds me of the movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And I bet you're asking why, Stephen, and I'll tell you, Stephen.
I already know why.
Why is it?
No, just go.
No, by all means, you know me better than me. What am I going to say?
Is it because there's a sequel?
Is there a sequel to Heat?
Michael Mann is writing the script for a sequel. Yes.
Oh, God damn it. With 80-year-old Pacino and De Niro?
I don't know, but he hopes to film at the end of this year or beginning in 2025. So
we'll table that conversation for another day. No, the reason I think it's similar is because a lot of people see Heat as a movie about cops and robbers, De Niro versus Pacino. And I see that movie a different way, where it's really about the women that support the cops and robbers. And I think this show does a very good job of showing the women that support all these receivers, whether it's Claire Kittle or Brooklyn, Amonra's girlfriend, or Mahogany, who's Debo's girlfriend, or I'm forgetting Davante's girlfriend. I had it written down. Devonay, Justin Jefferson just has his bachelor life with Candy. But they have support, and that's it's good to see that. I like seeing the personal life of these guys sometimes, because myself, I get too focused on just them as the football players, and you have to see them for being real people sometimes. So I thought the show did a great job of just showing what they do, how unselfish they are, because people have this perception of wide receivers, and just the support they have, and just the heartache they go through when things don't end up happening, well for them. Like, case in point, it's tough to see George Kittle and Debo at the very end. They put their bodies on the line. They are injured in that Super Bowl. I mean, George Kittle can barely lift his shoulder up. He goes back and gets a shot and comes back, and in the end, it's all for naught. So, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, no, it should be a lesson for a lot of football players. I love, or a lot of athletes in general, just get a support system. Don't have someone that's there to be there because you're an athlete. Like, that's someone who's there because they truly want to support you. And I do think that with St. Brown's dad, like, the way that people defended LeVar Ball as being that sort of father figure, like, how am I supposed to say this? The way LeVar Ball acted with his sons, like, there's a reason that he was getting criticized for it. It's like, why is everyone going at this guy who's just trying to help his kids? It's like, because he made it about himself.
Yes.
Like, this dad, this father, St. Brown, he did everything. I mean, he was hard on them for sure. Like, it's crazy, but he did it for their future success. And clearly Amon-Ra's got a good head on his shoulders. Who knows about Equanimous? We didn't really see him as much, but he clearly raised two really just well-rounded people. And I don't know. I mean, it's not to say that LeVar didn't raise two good guys, but the only thing I'm seeing with Lonzo Ball out nowadays is, well, nothing. LaMelo obviously doing what he did in China, and then, or excuse me, not LaMelo. What's the other son's name? Can't remember the other son's name now. And then I had Lonzo, LaMelo, and I forgot the other one, but we know what he did in China with stealing a bunch of stuff, and he got a bunch of trouble. Then there's LaMelo Ball, who the only video, LiAngelo. Thank you, Ernie, too. LiAngelo. And with LaMelo, all I see is him really just videos of him peeling out in his purple Lamborghini and always looking super fresh because he's rich and he's got a lot of money. But, like, you don't really see that with the St. Brown boys, and so there's a difference there. I just found the juxtaposition really interesting.
No, definitely. I mean, I think there's some people that would see the way that John Brown acts and be like, he's hard on his kids. He's got kind of like a Tom Marinovich thing going on. No, he wasn't that brutal. Like, everything's in fun. Like, he's a little hard on Amon-Ra's girlfriend, but it's all fun in the end. Like he loves her, he loves the family. What?
No, just imagining like you take your girlfriend home and then your dad tells her, "Hey, you're what did they call him? What did he call for
I don't
both
need
you?
I don't need women around. Yeah, like vultures or something. I don't need women around my boys.
Dream killers or something?"
Yeah, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But he obviously says he was wrong in saying that. But yeah, no, the show is very interesting, and I love seeing, Justin Jefferson get paid in the end, and Amon-Ra getting paid, and yeah, no, I thought it was a very fun show to watch.
They got our boy Kirk in there.
Kirk
Cousins.
Oh yeah,
They had that. That's I'm
no
convinced
Coop though.
I'm convinced that that's the reason they brought Justin Jefferson onto the show. Not to profile one of the game's great wide receivers, potentially an all-time great wide receiver, not to do any of that, not to show the background. It's just so they can get Kirk Cousins so they could get an interview in with Kirk because they like him so much from quarterback.
Yeah, they got a few in from Kirk, and Brock Purdy was in there. I liked at the end when they were coming out for Super Bowl Media Day, and Debo's like, you should wear these shades. And Brock's like, no, I'm not wearing those.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried. Try to give him a little personality, but
Kyle Shanahan, dude, never felt so swagged out like I was behind you guys, dude.
You know why? Because Kyle was a few tequilas deep that night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No,
For
look,
sure.
if you remember media night for Kyle Shanahan, he was slurring his words hard.
Oh yeah, he had that glow.
The other interesting NFL show that's out right now, I know you haven't seen this new episode, Steven, so I'll make it quick. The episode 3 last night of Hard Knocks with the Giants, man, everybody thinks the Moneyball scene of the trade deadline's interesting, where he's calling Savvy Savesters and doing all the trades. They show the entire episode is Joe Shane the first few days of free agency and him making all the deals. And it's fascinating that it starts off with him in the office. Brian Dable shows up. They talk about like what they're willing to pay for each guy. They, Brian Dable really values Jermaine Illuminor, which I'm like, oh, really? Okay. They go over all the players. It seems to me like they were never really that serious about giving money to Saquon. Like Brian Dable, when they were having the meeting, he's like, I can be fine with Devin Singletary. Like that's the guy I know from Buffalo. Like I'd be okay with him. So it's fascinating how much detail they allow on this show. Like John Mara shows up, the owner. He's like, I really would have a hard time sleeping at night if Saquon went to someplace I wouldn't want him to go. And sure enough, he goes to Philadelphia. So while this show is interesting to us, I think this show gives a lot of ammunition for the Giants, if they do not have a good season, to fire their general manager, because this is all out to the world. And if we know anything about the Giants and New York media, they care about perception. So if this team does not perform well, I would not be the least bit surprised that Joe Shane and Brian Dable, they're all fired, not because of the show, because of what they put on the product on the football field, but this will certainly factor into that.
I can't wait to hear New York sports radio callers when the Giants end up inevitably losing, because I just don't think they're winning anything with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
When they inevitably lose, they're going to say, you're too fucking busy fucking making reality shows as opposed to winning fucking football games.
Yep.
Can't wait for those sports. Pardon my French. Can't wait for those callers, man.
Yeah, was that John Turturro's brother?
No, that was just me doing a very stereotypical East Coast accent.
You know what I'm talking about, though. His brother, the guy was in the Adam Sandler movies. He's a big New York sports fan. Nicky Turturro.
Eh?
He played like what's his name? Who's Brucey in Longest Yard?
Oh, you're talking about that guy. Yeah.
He does like Twitter videos all the time. Where I saw him the other night where he was like, that fucking home run derby, Star Spangled Banner. The fuck was that? By the way, real quick, that rendition was terrible. So did she go to rehab or something? Is that what happened? She was drunk the night before, and that's what's going on.
She went to rehab. Heard it's fun.
Okay. Is that what she said?
Yeah, I know we're supposed to be. I understand being sympathetic and having compassion for people that are going through something like that. But when you close out, I heard rehab is fun.
No way.
Sarcastically, like I'm just like, all right, you kind of opened in the door here for a little jokes.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You nah. There's like it's questionable even. Okay, I shouldn't say that. If she has to go to rehab, she has to go to rehab. But like, don't throw at the end. Heard it's fun. That's ridiculous.
Sorry, it's I'll let you know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun.
Yeah, there's your jackass of the week. That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. Well, enjoy it. You're having a super fun time at the super fun rehab.
Wow. Speaking of GMs making moves and whatnot, we'll spend a little time on this. Danny Ainge's proposal to the Warriors has come out through Sham Charania. So basically, the Jazz want the world for Lauri Markkanen. They want Moses Moody. They want multiple first-round picks. They want multiple pick swaps. They want multiple second-round picks in either Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Podziemski. And it sounds like they prefer Brandon Podziemski, which is surprising, but maybe not. And then Anthony Slater came out today and said the Warriors are definitely not trading Brandon Podziemski, but Steve Kerr did say a couple weeks ago that every player not named Steph Curry is on the table. So what do you think about this trade offer? I think that's nuts. I think that's way too much for Lauri Markkanen.
I get why the Jazz are asking for it, but
I do too.
Warriors need a roster.
Yeah.
You need to fill up a roster here. Unless it's Daquan Plowden time, then Daquan Plowden, the guy they just signed to a 2-way contract out of Summer League.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. On Saturday against the Suns, he had like a putback dunk when Dunleavy was on the broadcast on ESPN. It was pretty sweet. And he's like, oh, like they were talking about Jonathan Kuminga and the things that he does. And he's like, backdoor cutting and slashing and all those different things. And that's exactly what Plowden did at the exact time with a putback dunk. Very athletic at 25 years old. Like, so
you were proud of Plowden.
Correct.
All right. You were proud.
I was proud of Plowden.
Yes.
But I don't think Markkanen's worth it. I don't think any Warrior fans actually understand whether Markkanen's worth it or not. Like,
they just want a name.
Like the Paul George one, I was willing to do that Paul George deal. The Clippers obviously weren't, but if they were going to do that deal, I was all in on that. I was like, okay, that's actually worth it. But this one, I mean, you're sacrificing everything and going in on Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just Danny Ainge is asking for the moon right now. And if it comes down to August 6th, when they need to give him a contract extension and they don't want to do it, then they'll go back to the Warriors guy. All right, we'll take this out. We'll take this out. Just give us this.
Yep.
And then it'll be more reasonable. If that happens, I could also see the Jazz being like, what are we doing? Let's build around this guy.
Yeah. Or
let's be real. It's Utah. They need a white guy. So they either want Lauri Markkanen or they want Brandon Podziemski.
Well, he's not white. He's Finnish.
Like I said, they need a white guy.
Lowry's not white. Lowry's clear.
Ah, yes. There you go. I like that. All right. That's enough sports for right now. Let's talk about, we can call this pop culture catch up, but this is a little bigger than pop culture catch up, in my opinion. So obviously what happened last Saturday was significant. Like I came on here with Alon and we talked about Trump getting shot at, and nobody, I'll speak for myself, and I think you would agree, Stephen, that nobody wants to see somebody die. Like no one wants that. No matter what you feel about Trump, I don't think it would help the country out if that were to happen. But that you can make jokes. Like I don't really, in my world, I think that as long as you do it tastefully and you don't have any malicious intent, you can joke about anything and everything. I think that's what comedians do. So Anybody who knows me, and Steven, you know this, you and I are both huge Tenacious D fans, and they have had a huge impact on me. Jack Black specifically has had a huge impact on me in just my sense of humor and how goofy I am. Like, there's so many people, like, that I look up to, like Mel Brooks or Larry David, Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, but all those guys, not as much as Jack Black. I just who he is and just his goofiness and his talent of being funny and acting and music, he just stands out to me. So, and he just, a week ago, we were talking about how they had the Tenacious D MVP award. They gave it to Drew Holiday, and it was funny. And, him and Kyle Gass have been best friends for years. He's always, whenever Jack Black had fame, Kyle was always there. That's the reason why Tenacious D got bigger, for whether it was the TV show or the movie or any of the albums. I've listened to it all. I love Tenacious D. I'm a huge fan. And this latest thing has really upset me. So the other night, they're performing a concert. They're on this new tour. And it was Kyle Gass's birthday. And they wheeled out a cake for Kyle, KG. And they say, make a wish, Kyle. And Kyle blows out the cake and he says, next time I hope the shooter doesn't miss. Okay. Yeah, not the greatest joke in the world, but whatever. It's a joke. I really didn't take it that seriously. But people are offended by that. And, you can be offended, whatever. But jokes are jokes, in my opinion. Then his good friend and a guy that I love, Jack Black, was so put off by what Kyle said and was blindsided, as he put it. He put out this statement from Jack Black on Facebook. I was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. After much reflection, I no longer feel it is appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour, and all future creative plans are on hold. I am grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. Man, look, I love Jack, but that's a jackass move, in my opinion. I get that he's campaigning and is going to be helping out Joe Biden with his campaign and whatnot, but you're also a comedian, man. And you're also a friend. Like, I don't like this at all, to call out his friend like this. And I guess Kyle's representation, his management dropped him. I don't like it at all. I have a hard time even thinking about it, to be completely honest. I know people are like, come on, Derek, whatever. Like, no, I love Tenacious D. So if they break up over this is awful to me.
My guess is they won't.
Okay.
My guess is they won't. I think this is kind of, look, man, I think it drew a lot of anger. I think it drew a lot of anger from more people than we know. I think a lot of political anger, like this joke specifically. And they're not comedians, though. That's the thing. They're funny, but they're not comedians. No one's at a stand-up show. They're at a music concert. They're playing music after all, though it's funny.
It's music comedy, though.
Sure, but it's not like a stand-up show where you're going there purely for jokes. Like music fans, like that's the type of thing where politics is intertwined with it. Comedy can be too, but I think it's kind of a fear for the future because this sort of thing's really delicate, man. It's really delicate. I know we're supposed to allow jokes and all that sort of stuff. But this is the type of thing where like you're kind of putting them in danger of something that could happen. Like those words really carry weight with how that goes. Like with anyone else, if it was just like me and you in the audience, yeah, we wouldn't make anything of it. But how many people in the audience were actually like offended by that? I know you're not, but like you got to think of the majority of the people here. It's not a good look.
I understand that. Look, I'm not condoning the joke. I think it was not the best thing to say, but I'll get more into that. I would also argue this, though, man. If you're at a Tenacious D show, like, you should expect that stuff. Like, I know that I mean, shit, man. Like they make songs about cock push-ups. Like it's not the
Right.
most like real things. It's great music, but it's comedy music. And they did a whole album post-apocalypto. I can't speak. Post-apocalypto about making fun of Donald Trump. They do have songs about that. So if you were a Trump supporter in the crowd, then I'm not condoning the act of violence or anything like that, but I'm just saying like it's just a joke. It is just a joke at the end of the day. And I talked about Mark Norman and what he tweeted with Stormy Daniels and his joke. I think people are two-faced when it comes to this thing because you can be all about freedom of speech and say what you want and let's have comedy the way it used to be, and I agree with all that. So but you can't laugh at the Shane Gillis joke 2 months ago where he talked about how wouldn't Trump be the most hilarious president to be assassinated, and then say like, "Oh, you can't joke about that now." Yes, you can. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I know it was a bad thing that happened, but he did not die, and I think you could still make jokes about it. I do. So, and not that I'm condoning what Kyle said or anything. I just think that Jack is totally overreacting here, and it's really sad to see.
Yeah, but I think it's something that might have been necessary, and I don't think he blindsided Kyle with this one. I think he's like, Kyle, dude, like they've been best friends forever. It's like, Kyle, dude, like we'll put out this little statement here. We'll both apologize. We'll say that our future creative whatever they call it is on hold for now because they haven't officially canceled the band. But I just think it's like, dude, at this point, I mean, he was probably told by his PR guy. It was probably not him that made this decision. It was probably like Jack was probably okay with it, but it was probably someone higher up who said, look, dude, this is bad. Like just in this climate that we live in, we can complain about it as much as we want, but it's here. So I think they were probably taking the advice of someone or something like that. Like it's,
yeah, but like, do you really like I'll give an example. I understood when Seth Rogen and James Franco could not be in movies anymore together. I completely understand that. James Franco was accused of bad things, and Seth Rogen had to move on with his life.
right.
But Seth Rogen never publicly came out and totally threw shade to James Franco. I think behind closed doors, they're still good friends despite whatever has happened. I don't like you doing this to a friend. Like there are 30 years of friendship here, and there's better ways to handle things. I don't think you need to cancel a whole tour because a joke was made. I just think that's ridiculous. And to say like we'll see if our creative different, like we're putting all future plans of creativity on hold. Like that's ridiculous to me. Like, are you insinuating that they can't be bandmates anymore? Like that's insane, Jack. Come on. And like I was watching, like this is gonna be unrelated, but I was watching like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the new edition with Jimmy Kimmel, and the new thing has comedy duos on it. So it's like Nick Kroll and John Mulaney, and then Keenan and Kel were contestants on the other night, and I was watching it because I was watching trash TV with my mom. But those guys have their differences, and in the end, they're still friends, and it was good to see. Like I don't like it. Just sucks. Like I don't want to see those two guys fight like this. Like this is insane to me.
Yeah. But also look at where the shows are in the future. You're going to Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Like, I think they might have canceled this just out of necessity. Like, I really do. I think it's very calculated. I get that this is like a threat to our being and just kind of where we're at with society. And I'm defending them here. Trust me, I'm not happy about it either, but like there's obviously a lot more at play here. I don't think it's just so simple.
So are you suggesting that Jack, I know
I'm suggesting that things could get very violent in this country in the coming years. And I don't think they want to be at the forefront. Like I know that we can make jokes about it, but I think there's going to be, the aftermath of this thing. I think it's much worse than we anticipated. And I think it's going to be a very slow burn. I don't think they want to be a part of that come October, right before election time, when things are just going to get worse and worse and worse. And the divide's going to be going more and more with this country. It's getting ugly, man. It's getting ugly. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put on tours in the future. But this one, they don't have any shows till October. At least that's what I'm looking at here. Like, this was their last one in Australia for a long time. They don't have shows for another couple of months. So what is it? Canceling, I don't know. I'm seeing 5 more shows on the tour here. Just using this as a way to get that out there, a public apology, let it all blow over. Everyone will forget about it. Then they'll be back on tour better than ever. And then we'll see the rise of the Phoenix.
That's fair. You make very good points, but I would also say that there's better ways to do it. The way that it comes across is Jack is calling out his friend. And I just thought there was a better way to do it. I thought the Tenacious D as a group could have come out with a statement. It felt like Jack was kind of just isolating himself from Kyle. And I think that while he wasn't the one that made the statement, he doesn't need to put his friend in the corner like that. So that was my biggest problem with it. Like, I think that Kyle could have apologized, and maybe he didn't want to, but I don't know, man. I do think that, you know, there comes a point though where are we just going to be afraid because we're going to be, you know, criticized for the jokes we make? Like, I understand, like, real shit's going on in life, but we still got to laugh.
Yes, but I just think that there's certain things there are certain things you make jokes about, but the subject of that joke doesn't have a ton of followers behind him who, for some, can seem pretty unhinged. Like, very
yeah, I part of me hates giving into that, but I hear you.
You know what I mean? Like, whether I think it was a very serious matter for a lot of people, and it is. It's it's an assassination attempt, for God's sakes. But yeah, man, that was different. That was very different.
Yeah, it's not something I was expecting to see. Like, I was like, is this real? And it's like, yeah, Jack, yeah, they're moving apart for now. I hope that doesn't mean the end, because I mean, you're as big a fan as me, man. Like, they're awesome. And
we're not talking double team Supreme anymore. I'll be very sad.
All right, last one before we get out of here. I've been talking about this thing for a while. Eminem's new album came out, The Death of Slim Shady, and I listened to it on the flight from San Francisco to Boca, and I know I come across sometimes as like the curmudgeon guy and like, oh, it's not the same as it used to be, blah, blah, blah. I was thoroughly entertained by this. This was a very good album. And I know you haven't listened to it yet, Steven, so I won't ruin it for you, but it's done in a very smart way. Basically, Eminem battles with his alter ego, Slim Shady, for most of the album. And it's ballsy. Like, basically, Eminem takes shots at PC culture and cancel culture, but it's done in a way that's not like, I truly believe these things. It's done as, this is what my character thinks. And in the end, he tells you that I don't really feel this way. It's just done in a joking manner. We're talking about jokes here with, Tenacious D. It's just jokes with Eminem as well. So I won't get too much into it. I'll wait till you listen to it. But I would say this is probably his best album since the Eminem Show. I thought it was very well done.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I ain't even thought about it.
Nice. So yeah, that's all I got, man. Oh, and real quick, I forgot to mention this last podcast because it happened the day of. Rest in peace to Jacoby Jones. That was shocking. Electric punt returner, had one of my favorite plays in NFL history of him catching that touchdown from Joe Flacco with just seconds left against Denver. Died at 40, and we don't have the details, but damn. Rest in peace to Jacoby Jones. That sucks.
Yeah, man. And the whole died peacefully. Like, peacefully.
Yeah.
The age of 40. Like, what was going on there?
Yeah,
You know?
we'll get more details, but that's
And that's also one of those ones where I didn't really know much about Jacoby Jones, the person. And then you see a lot of the former teammates, some of the photos they took. I think like Torrey Smith had a series of photos, and one of them was them making this funny face outside the White House. Like, I did not know like the type of personality he has, but it seemed like he was one of those dudes who was just happy with where he was at, very content, just always smiling. I think is it was kind of what was used to describe him, which just makes it suck even more. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't really know who he was until his death, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of, and these are all unrelated, but I feel like we've had a lot of young wide receivers pass away recently, like Demaryius Thomas, Vincent Jackson, just way too soon. Way too soon. Well, all right, man. I'm gonna go back to watching Food Network with my mom.
All right, I'm going to put this photo on my vision board because this is what I want in life. Take away the context. I do not want to speak at a Republican National Convention. I do not want to be a state senator. I don't want to do any of that. But I do want this in life. I want my bulldog, as I'm sitting up there making a speech somehow. I just want my bulldog watching me at all times. I'm putting this on my vision board, Derek. This is what I want. Like, if I'm asked, where do you want to be when you're retired? This right here. Did you see this?
I did not. I'm seeing it for the first time right now. But when you first brought it up, I was kind of half expecting it to be like Trump announcing, like, "This is my new running mate. This is my dog. Beautiful dog. Beautiful dog."
This cutaway, it was closed up on his face. It was a close up on him, just the microphone and him, and then it pans out to a bulldog watching him lovingly. That's what I want.
So this senator just brought his bulldog and was like, "All right, buddy, you're gonna sit in the chair there."
I don't know any of the context to this. I don't know whose dog it is. I don't know if it's his, but if it is his, look at the way the dog's looking at him. That's absolutely his dog. That's man's best friend. I want that so bad. Look at that. Look at that little
I know.
guy.
Well, I don't mean to burst your bubble here, but Jesse, we aren't getting a bulldog.
Yeah, well, we'll talk. Get a little stomach rub. Oh, look at that little guy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with my mom's dog, Bear. Have we talked about if dogs should have other animal names?
What do you? No. Bear makes sense if it's a big dog.
He's a big dog, but beautiful dog. But yeah, Bear's always a weird name to me. But I love the dog.
Yeah, it's okay. His name's Bear. If I had to name this bulldog here, I'd call him Pudge.
Pudge Rodriguez.
He looks like a Pudge. Oh, look at that little guy. Sneak some food. Yeah, that dog has stolen some burritos easily.
Oof,
says AJ Cruz.
I don't know if you should eat too many burritos.
Oh, look at that little guy.
That's a beautiful dog.
That's what I want. That is my dream.
All right, Steven. I'm gonna get back to watching Bobby Flay's Triple Threat. I tell you what, man. Food Network is running out of ideas. It is just the same guys with the same shows. It's the same competition. They gotta get some everything doesn't have to be a competition show. It could be a travel show. Just give me something different. It doesn't need to be all the same bullshit.
Yeah, I can't help you with that one.
Yeah, I know.
You're watching Food Network. What are you watching? You're watching a network about food. What do you expect?
That is true.
You expect a lot of variety?
It just feels like it's too much competition. Just like, give me like an Adam Richman travel show.
Okay. Man versus food coming up. Joey Chestnut should get his own show.
Ooh.
Where he just goes around and eats stuff since people love him so much.
That's not bad. Well, you do too. You yeah. Don't act like you don't love him.
He's okay. I've just heard stories.
Okay. I'll have to go in depth on that sometime.
Nah.
All right, everybody. I think we're done for this week. I got to fly back on Sunday, and I'll be jet lagged. And Steven doesn't want to do a late night podcast, so let's see everybody back here on Wednesday, and not at 1 o'clock. We'll go back to the usual time. Sorry, Elena. She likes the 1 o'clock show.
I like this one too.
I know. I'm sorry. I have to go back to my day job. And now all of you can go to the KMBR chat and listen to the show that I normally produce, Tolbert and Copes, because I'm sure they're all pissed that I took away their audience, because people want to see me, really.
Yeah. The audience of 4.
I don't know if that counter is accurate, because there's way more people in the chat than there is on the little counter thing.
I think it's pretty accurate.
Ah, damn it, that's sad. Anyway, on that note, thanks to everybody in the chat, the Ernies, AJ Cruz, no Tacky, thank God. Oh, Tacky's loyal to the KMBR chat. That fraud. Danny Golding TV, Otis Bird is the word, Jesse, and of course Elena. We'll see you guys a week from today on Wednesday. Until then, Steven, say what you always say.
Mm-hmm. It's just